We have the moderator here. Please tell everybody, sir, who you are so they can know what's going on. I apologize because I want them to know. So we have the moderator.
I'm AJ Woodson, Editor-In-Chief of Black Westchester, host of People Before Politics Radio.
All right. And we got two gentlemen here. Give them a round of applause. Give them a round of applause. That is deep in itself, you know? All right. Then we got this young gentleman right here. Yes, with the Adidas.
I'm Bonz Malone, writer, actor, film producer, and resident of Mount Vernon. Proud to be here.
Give him a round of applause. And then we have the artiste. The artiste. I see some of his work in plenty of places. This is the man right here. Please give this young guy a round of applause. Let him say his name.
All right. The full government, André LeRoy Davis, born and raised in Brooklyn. Still trying to stay in Brooklyn, which is getting more difficult. Artist, writer, teacher, curator, tap dancer, more or less whatever.
I'm still tapping for you, brother. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. Give him a round of applause, people. With the Shaolin style, Brooklyn. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So, gentlemen, I'm going to let you continue from here. I am not worthy. Back up slowly.
All right, so I guess we're going to get started. I'm pleased to be here with two people that I've known for a very long time and have a lot of respect and have a lot of history in the game of hip-hop. Yeah. So at one point or another, we all had something to do with the source. So let's start there. So,
well, I probably had the longest bid. Right. Everybody, I was there for 16 years straight, 1990 till 2006. Every issue, I think I missed one issue, which was a Guru issue. But the reason why I was there so long, I was not in the offices daily. You know, if you had somebody upset and you weren't in the offices, it was easy to get away with stuff.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So whenever Benzino or Dave was mad at me or called me, and I said no, I wasn't going to draw something, you know, I still was there because I had no problem telling them no, because if they made me draw something that I didn't want to do, I'd be gone. So that was it.
The Source magazine that was the glory time in hip hop, because no other magazine before then actually embodied hip hop culture. You know, you had rock magazines, and
right.
You know, you also had rap pages on the West Coast, I believe, and there was a couple of others, but the Source was the official hip hop magazine.
The Bible of hip hop.
Yeah, it was. You know, which became the Bible of hip hop because of the departments that it had.
Yeah.
And at the time that it came out, you know, the magazine through Dave Mays and John Schechter and two others were already in publication in Harvard. You know, they were Harvard students, and then they went, you know, which I'm just saying this for the sake of those who don't know.
Right.
And, you know, it also speaks to the fact that, you know, those who are not black or Latino in our culture can still represent our culture because they're so deeply influenced by it. And which is what helped me to leave Spin Magazine, which is a rock magazine, and go with them because, you know, we were all under 30. We were all young, and we were enthusiastic about not just what hip-hop is, but what it could be.
Right.
With, you know, with the allowance just to let our talents and our dreams just have full reign.
So you at Spin first before the Source?
Yeah, I was at Spin first.
All right. Because I know for me, anytime I wanted any kind of hip-hop, it was either like an occasional article in the Village Voice.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like occasional article in Spin,
Nelson.
occasional article in Rolling Stone.
You had to find it.
Yeah. And then, of course, Word Up and Rap Pages, where I got most of my visual references from. But once the Source came in, like Bonz says, it was front page to back page, nothing but hip-hop.
Completely.
For me, I started out with the fanzines. I actually started out with Word Up and Black Beat, coming from an artist.
Yeah.
And then until some magazines thought it was a good idea to have an artist review another artist's music.
Okay.
So that's how I got into the whole writing thing.
Yeah.
But I met them as an artist, Dave and John, at Harvard back in '88. Because and at that point they were like on the third issue, and the first one was just a yellow piece of paper front and back that they read on their computer. Yeah.
before it even went to.
Yeah, so I mean, I got to know them then, and then when they told me when they came to New York. So
Yeah.
yes. So when I first met them, I know for me, I had no idea it would become what it came. With y'all?
Well, I had got out of college in like 1987. So I started freelancing. I had already done work for like Discover Magazine, Playgirl, Emerge, all that type of thing. But I wasn't really drawing people who looked like me.
Right.
So I was out there with my portfolio, hustling, hitting different magazines, and I happened to be over by like Broadway and Lafayette, and I saw a Source magazine for the first time in a newsstand.
Right.
Went to the corner booth, called up about dropping my portfolio off to be looked at. They had no idea what I was talking about dropping off portfolios.
Right.
John Schechter was like, come on over. I came over, met with him. He said he wanted to always add an element from like Mad Magazine and artwork into the mix. He asked me if I could come up with an idea for Easy-E and bring it in like 2 days. That's what I did, and so I had no idea what it was gonna be, where it would go. I just knew I was getting ready to draw people that looked like me.
Now I know this is the Comic Expo, so
Yeah.
hip hop and comics have always gone together. Like we said, RZA and Afro Samurai, and another person we all worked with, Cheo,
Yeah.
doing Luke Cage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's real good to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the history and the foundation, and it's come from pure love of hip hop and comics. Like Bonz and I were talking about earlier, it was not something that was created. It was just a natural love of comic books and a natural love of hip hop. So it was just like common sense to blend them, because that's what we already were doing as kids, as teenagers and whatever.
Yeah, hip hop is, greatly influenced by comics. Period. As a matter of fact,
Absolutely.
The first influences of hip hop culture is comic books.
Right.
We learn to dress, the color coordination from comic books, the storylines that we live out from comic books, the influences of a street name as opposed to your government name, comic books.
Right.
You look at the Justice League, everybody in the Justice League knows each other. They know each other's first name. Nobody else knows that outside of that circle.
Right.
So in hip hop culture, as a rapper, as a DJ, as a graffiti artist, break dancer, same thing happens. I came from the graffiti side. So for me, the early influences, was of course Luke Cage and Power Man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? From back in those days. But in our era, in the early 80s, it was Vaughn Bodē. Vaughn Bodē with the Cheech Wizard. He had so many he had like about 3 or 4 different brands of comics. And they used to say you couldn't even find them. They sold them across the street from Art and Design, which was his high school.
Yeah.
And a lot of graffiti artists came from Art and Design. Some of the best in the city went to Art and Design High School, and right across the street was those comic books. So you started to see those comics show up on the trains in, right after Wild Style. Like it's right after Wild Style, it just blew up. Graffiti went into its like second or third stage for our generation. And then you saw Vaughn Bodē characters in those comic books with Don D. White, and Lee Quinones and stuff like that. So it really was, those are the stages where, again, even for our generation, comic books was a big part of our culture by the way we dress, the way we talk, and especially visually, it was artistic, the style of hip-hop culture greatly influenced by comics.
Yeah, definitely comic books and just cartoons and characters in general.
Right.
Just a part of it, because as Bonz said, I went to the High School of Art and Design, and just in those 4 years that I was there was just the 4 elements of hip-hop. I mean, Fable was in my graduating class.
Okay.
2 years before me was the Mighty Shirt Kings. They were in there.
Wow.
I was in biology class with MCT, the Mantronics.
Yeah.
So it was just normal flow of hip-hop and cartoon and artwork combined.
What influenced you to do what you do now? I know a couple of things for me. I used to be an artist, but as far as writing professionally, was two things. Havelock Nelson was the first person to mention my group in Billboard, and I was amped up. And Harry Allen, when it was my first real interview, and City Sun. And I think even some of what he does, what he did inspires what I'm doing right now, as far as Black Westchester, the activism and all that, but it was through music. What inspired y'all to get into this?
Me, it was my high school. I had a high school teacher, an English teacher, and I did a composition, and it was on graffiti. So I was like interviewing myself, and he read that. And he was like, "Look, you got talent. I want you to write for the high school newspaper." He set it up. I had to write like an entry form for that, blew that up. Then, was really being trained as a journalist for New Youth Connections, which was the name of the magazine, the newspaper.
What high school did you go to?
I went to the Old Boys High, and I also went to Wingate, but I was kicked out of 4 high schools, man. I was wild, so I needed something, I really needed something that will, keep me stable and not become a statistic. And my teachers were like, this is it, because this is something that you have to have a skill in, and you have it. Wherever you found it, you have it. Now, I was still writing graffiti, but, they had no idea, that underneath the ink stains and all of that there was journalism. But my mom was an English major. She went to Cambridge at 14, so I came up with like the King's English in the house and all of this stuff. But we didn't talk like that out in the street, or we get beat up. So, that was my avenue, and to at least to try it. I met somebody that worked with Bill Adler, who worked with Rush. He introduced me to to Russell Simmons when I was like 18, and that was my first job, and that was it. It's just been in ever since.
Okay. For me, I had an older brother who drew. So when people ask me when I started to draw, I can't honestly say when. All I know is watching my older brother, trying to be like your older brother. But then it turned out that I could actually draw. So I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. My mother used to say all she had to do was just give me a paper and a pencil. Didn't really need a babysitter. She knows she just put me in the room.
Right.
And I was good. I wasn't going to bother nobody. Wasn't going to get into no mischief. And then from there, like I said, just being in school, drawing, I think really what really gave me the incentive to keep on was the fact that having my artwork displayed like in a neighborhood library, actually neighborhood bank. They put the artwork in the window.
Oh, that's what's up.
So walking by and seeing my artwork in the window, it was like, yo.
Yeah.
That was a good feeling, and that always inspired me to keep at it, for sure.
I had actually I used to draw.
Okay.
A lot. I think a lot of us, in the arts, we mix up music, art. We do a lot of writing, a lot of that. Yeah. So I had an art teacher here at Mount Vernon High School, Mrs. Beckworth. Okay. She used to be the cartoonist for Mighty Mouse.
Really?
Yeah. So I was real amped, and when she shielded us because most of us were graffiti artists too.
Okay.
So she knew what our real names and our graffiti names. So the principal was trying to find out. Yeah. She wouldn't tell them. She would hold us down.
She kept the code.
Yeah. Mrs. Beckworth. But talking about comics, one thing that inspired me, the what if. And I always did I always used to write little things like that, even when the stuff that didn't get published. What if Latifah and She-Hulk fought? What I'm saying? I would come on. I used to do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Just Biz Markie and the Thing. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
That kind of connection.
Yeah. So it was a natural progression, I guess, for y'all too.
For me also, going back to just hearing certain superheroes mentioned either in rap songs or regular songs.
Yeah.
I think one of the earliest songs I remember, I may get the group wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a group, War, who said Superman, Batman, playing all night. Was that in Galaxy? Was that the song?
I don't know.
No? But I remember that the lyric was Superman, Batman playing. I was like, And just hearing stuff like that, I was like, yo, they put Superman and Batman in a song to a beat. And then, of course, Super Rhymes and just different
Super Rhymes,
MCs who would just mention superheroes. And I don't know if it was a validation realistically, but just hearing that people musically who I appreciated were mentioning comic book characters, where when I was in school, a lot of the people saw me reading comic books as nerdy and geeky.
Right.
Here they were in music mentioning it.
Right,
so
right,
you couldn't tell me nothing. I ain't care what nobody thought at that point.
But we really felt, I know I did, I felt that I was a comic book character anyway.
Me too.
And I think most kids would say that because, you want to be the hero of your own life, you know what I'm saying? And that, I think that's all, that unites us all as kids since the very beginning. Even in graffiti with those characters that I was talking about, right after Vaughn Baudet started popping up, what you saw, sometimes in the same piece was, the graffiti character, the B-boy. And the B-boy was completely us. That didn't exist before the 80s. You never saw that on the train. Graffiti was there, but the character was never there.
Yeah.
And that is the embodiment of hip hop culture to this day. And it was the fat shoelaces in the Pumas. It was the Kango. It was the Kazals. That was us, and you knew it was us. And you didn't see that in no book.
The Lees and the Montagnecks.
Right, shout out to Hip Hop Family Tree, the comic book, because now you'll see those images in there, and now they're more than just standing still or like, cocked in some different, it's movement, it's animated, but you have to see yourself as that character anyway. The only thing is that, again, we had our own uniform. It's the stuff that we were wearing every day. Right. As opposed to, and it was still color coordinated, as opposed to, something else that, we clearly stole out of a comic book. We were writing our own narrative at that point, and it was a part of a mobile art gallery.
Absolutely.
I would say for me, of course, you had Superman, Batman, white characters, but I think before Power Man and Black Panther, for me, it was watching Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids and seeing the Brown Hornet.
Yes.
A black character. So for me, it's one of those things where it's incentive. It's like finally seeing somebody who looked like me gave me the incentive to draw people that look like me. Because before that, I was mostly drawing white characters that I saw, So once I saw that, I'm like, yo, I can just be me, draw me, do whatever I felt. And that guided me to where I am, today still.
One other point is that while this is going on, like I said, a lot of the best graffiti artists in the city went to art and design, his school. So at night, in any train yard in New York City, you'll see, a small squad of some of the best getting down. And who are they drawing? They're drawing themselves. Yeah. All right. So you go in class, you have the traditional instruments, to do your pencil art, your pen art, whatever. We're painting with spray paint, man. We're drawing with paint.
You know how crazy that is?
We're stealing paint.
Right.
We're spraying paint. This was crazy, and we had it down to a science after years of which paint nozzle has the thinnest spray,
I love that.
which has the fattest spray. We could draw anything with that, and then colors. Nobody knows colors like us, man.
Was it like you going into certain stores and taking caps off of?
Taking caps off.
What is it? Oven cleaner.
Easy oven cleaner.
Right.
Glass cleaner. With the Jif cap, the joint that the wood cleaner.
Yeah.
Wood cleaner comes out with a ball like this. Get that, man.
Because I always wondered that back then until I actually watched a couple of people do things.
Yeah.
I was too scared of my father to go tagging. You know what I mean? Because you had to sneak out. You had to be out at night. And, West Indian father, I wasn't having that. So I just admired friends who ran out and did that,
So piggybacking off what you said about us being characters, if you were a superhero, who would you be?
Me, man. Me.
what superhero is most closest to you?
I think that's an interesting question. Out of all of the comic book that I've seen, the cover there's only 2 covers that really impacted me. And one was Superman versus Muhammad Ali. That one right there,
Another great cover.
that was a super impact. I was like, say what? Oh, yo, that just lost my mind. And then the other one that took it to like the same perfect level for me, and trust me, this exists. Batman versus the Hulk.
Yeah.
When I saw that, man, yo,
supersized.
listen,
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, Batman is the dude, yo. Because here it is the strongest person on earth versus like the most fearless dude. No special powers, nothing. The dude just got balls swinging in. He swings on anybody. I was like, yo, those 2 were the biggest impacts as far as like traditional comics for me, right there.
See, I'm gonna speak about the one he mentioned with Superman and
Muhammad Ali.
What it was is I think it's the middle spread where they took Superman's powers away and Muhammad Ali punches him. He's going through the ropes, flying. I just love that whole layout visually
dying
of that one. I think that was Neil Adams who drew that, I think. When I think about that. But comic book covers for me, the one that always stood out to me was Luke Cage and Spider-Man. They were like on the cover, and Luke Cage is punching Spider-Man.
Crazy.
The artwork and the angle, they were like on the side of a building. That cover really, before that, I never really thought about drawing superheroes. I was just drawing people in general, but that cover made me want to start
They know
drawing
how to
superheroes.
get you, man.
Yeah.
They know how to get you.
Just
They
the
will
flavor.
put together people you
Right,
would never think about. Like, oh, you
That's why I
gotta
said I
have
like
it.
the what ifs, because the
Yeah.
what ifs were always
Yeah.
some kind of
I
crazy
remember What If
combination.
came out when I was like in like 5th, 6th grade, maybe. I think the first one was what if Spider-Man was part of the Fantastic
Yeah.
Four or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, they had some
And then
good
they
issues.
do an issue. They
Yeah.
do an issue like that, like he got down, crazy.
It's funny that you remember what ifs. Not a lot of people remember the what ifs.
I was a crazy comic book.
Okay.
Like, I was the kid that was slightly mischievous and would end up being on punishment for like the summer.
You gotta catch up on your comic book
But it was
reading.
like, but
You
it
need
was like,
something to read.
so I would be drawing and writing, and then my mom would take that from me, and then what would piss her off is, how do you punish a kid who reads?
Yeah.
Like, I would just sit in the room and read. She would be like, go outside. Like,
Yeah.
So it was
Go
like,
reverse.
yeah. So, talking about the source, and when I got to know you, what you did was so creative because you actually took the rappers and made them, characters.
Yeah.
Yo, how did you get into that? What inspired you? What?
Well, I tell people this. When I was in art design, probably like our junior and senior years, everybody had black books. So they would give them to each person to create art in their books. So I would like turn my friends into comic characters.
Okay.
Like there was this one friend of mine who came to school. He put his bag down and a roach came out of his bag. So everybody started calling him Roach Master. So I just took the cover of Taskmaster with the Avengers and I changed it into Roach Master, had him holding a can of Raid. So more or less the stuff that I was doing in high school, I just did at the source. So that's why I was like, it was no real change for me. That was my sense of humor. And they let me just be me. I knew hip hop, so I didn't have to really ask anybody any questions. I knew what I was drawing. I knew people's discography record-wise. I knew what they were about. So it was just natural flow to me. It wasn't really me imitating anything. It was no special thought. It was my sense of humor surrounded with hip hop and comics.
It was a perfect addition to what you said the source ended up being.
Yeah.
Because nobody had seen nothing like that before.
Nah, nobody.
Like, and it embodied everything that we do. Like, it was just, like, there was sometimes, seriously, you be reading through and you be going through, and you had to, like, almost go to the last to see what the last word was. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I hear that
you know
now,
what I'm
and I mean, back then I wasn't thinking about it. I was just creating what I did and was appreciating the fact that I was, like I said, once again, drawing people who look like me. My creativity wasn't stifled. It didn't really stop my sense of humor. They started editing my sense of humor when the source became thick like a phone book.
Yeah.
And then
It
advertising,
had
they
so
were
many
worried
ads
about
in
that.
it. Yeah.
So they was like, I knew I had to water what I was doing a little bit down. But for the most part, you know, the fun of it was just being me.
You know, I would say it was something that was said before that I think it was brilliant. That it actually was done already, but not by us.
All right.
You know, so National Lampoon,
Well, Mad and
you know, Mad Magazine was doing it. So this man here
And I'm glad you brought that up.
was taking the page out of that and putting it in a hip hop magazine with hip hop characters. Completely, no one even saw that coming, man.
Right.
No one saw it coming, but traditionally, from Mad and National Lampoon, look what they contributed to
Right.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
National Lampoon was so big that even, you know, you had the artists and then you had the writers.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody was tearing it up, man. I mean, it was a party all the time. They go get drunk, come back, do the piece the next day, and they would just stay on top. That was like they were getting paid to live.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like for us when we were at the source, we were getting paid to live hip hop culture. That's the dream.
Yeah.
You know, most people have to, if you're a rapper or a DJ, you got to have a day job
Right.
to support yourself until the dream takes over,
Yeah.
and then you could, you know, enter the, you know, what you want to do. For us, this was the dream.
Right.
We already made it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then now we're getting paid for it.
Right,
Yo,
right,
it's over.
right.
Yeah, there was nothing better than getting paid for just being you.
Oh,
Right.
man.
I mean, you wake up in the morning just
for
being you.
years.
Yeah, and getting paid. You know,
I used to say I was a professional hip hop junkie. I was like the ultimate fan. Like I
Yeah.
got to hang with, interview, go out to dinner and whatever with my favorite artists,
Yeah.
basketball players, actresses.
Yeah.
I got to for the movie Why Do Fools Fall in Love. I got to interview Halle, Layla, and Vivica at the same table at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
yo, that,
all off of hip hop.
Wow.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yo,
Yo,
you know what
wow.
I'm saying? So now I speak about movies. I know one of the things, my favorite quote. I spoke to Prince Paul recently. I said, "Yo, what's going on?" He said, "I'm trying to stay relevant."
Yeah.
So you know, I guess that's something we all try to do.
Yeah.
But one of the things, may or may not know, you had a lot of appearances in a lot of movies, like Shaft, Life, and too many other ones to name.
Which is still my favorite movie. Like,
Life,
so, like, it's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, Heavy D.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bernie Mac too.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So talk about getting into the whole acting thing, like how you.
You know, it just from the time that we're together, we were creating our own lives for a long time. I mean, you know, thanks to Jehovah, we were given an opportunity to you know, bring home some money doing this. I think that's the only reason why I had my mother's support anyway, the family support, is because I was getting actually paid to do this.
Right.
If I don't get paid now, I'll still hear that I should have took a civil service job in a heartbeat. She'll
A
turn
real
on
job.
me, you know. But it was because of when we were all at the source together, and you know this, that we were creating. We didn't know that because we were young. We didn't know that we were creating what the music industry was going to be for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
The departments that we had, Unsigned Hype,
Yeah.
you know, Graph Flicks, The Last Word. You had View from the Underground, which was also like, you know, the original Entourage, hip hop Entourage.
right.
Man, everything in that magazine was its own department and went on to become its own industry.
Right.
So just like everybody at Rush, you know, Rush Associated Labels went on to have the key positions in the music industry
Right.
for the next 10 years, like the 88 class,
Right,
the
right.
1988 class. It's the same thing with the Source. All of the editors there,
Yeah.
we all went into, everybody in music, we went into A&R. So, you know, we started dominating labels in A&R. Me, Riggs, Matty, you know, Scott. So the film, when I got to when I got to Island Records, you know, after signing Mobb Deep, the movie Juice was an Island movie.
Right.
So that was a real, you know, after Crush Groove, that was our movie for our generation for the 90s. That was New York. You know, it was a New York thing, and that's what started, you know, New York back into films for the 90s for the next generation, and then later on I was able to do Slam and then Light. But it really came from that, you know, those years of experience of making things up that did not exist already. You know, it's just like really thinking that it was possible and not asking somebody, can we do it?
Right.
We're actually doing it and having the industry come to us and be like, yo, because they were thirsty.
Right.
They're looking for a way to like market this. How can we exploit this? And we're like, yo, you could exploit it. Just, you know, we're going to get a piece of the action. And, you know, so one thing just led to another. It was synergistic.
I think one of the things a lot of us and everybody that came, the hustler spirit and creating your own. Like, I mean, even what I'm doing now, this didn't exist.
Yeah.
There was no blueprint for,
like,
you know, a black newspaper just really from this area. You know, we just kept flipping it. But I was talking about hustling. I spoke to Ice-T when he first did the cop thing. And I was like, if you knew him, you know he hated cops. He said, yo, I'm just pimping the system. Yeah. And he been pimping the system for years.
Years, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's more or less just taking what you do, finding a new position for it.
Right.
Because now I'm an art teacher in Brooklyn.
Well,
you know what I mean?
So
there I get to do a couple different things. I get to show young black boys and girls a black male teacher, being positive, being truthful to them. But then I also get them to connect to my passion on art, you know, teach them all aspects. So it's a hustle. It can be a positive hustle, but it's still expanding on what I already do. I don't necessarily tell them my history. I let them find that out as time goes through things. But it's really not letting people stop you from doing all that you can. If you're creative and you write, you draw, people want to put you in one thing. You're supposed to just do this.
Right.
So when I started writing, I was having trouble getting jobs because they said you're an artist.
Right.
So that's why I started writing on the André. You know, so I was able to start writing for the Source, rap pages, all that type of thing. I would say once I started writing for XXL, and other people found out that André Leroy Davis and André was the same person, stuff dried up. Because they still wanted to go back to just me being able to do one thing. So nowadays, if you can do it all, just hustle all your skills.
I had that problem coming from being an artist, a recording artist. Yo, real talk, there was a lot of hate in the beginning with some of the editors at the Source. Like, they was trying not to give me work because I was still getting love as the, you know, certain artists would call me on stage and stuff. So I was getting that love. And I would have a hard time getting assignments sometimes.
It's usually those people in charge who can only do one thing.
They
want to stop you from doing all the things you can do.
And it's also, you know, society, man. Society wants to, they got to put a label on you. They have to, you know, they have to identify what they don't understand. You got to at least put a name on it. And when you're still defining yourself and you won't allow anybody to explain you except you, they get bitter about that, you know, after a while, you know, because it's their way of getting a piece of the action. Let us claim you, you know, but you don't know what you're claiming. You know what I mean? So, you know, I just claim to be dope. That's it. You know, it doesn't have to be one thing. I'm not just a writer. I'm not just this. I don't market myself that way. You know, most people that have done what we've done are living somewhere else. They've left Brooklyn. They're in Hollywood somewhere. They've left Mount Vernon. They're somewhere else. I take pride in the fact that we're here. Yeah, we've done all of that. We still doing stuff and we still tearing it up. But we want and feel that it's important to connect to the community so that people know it's like, yeah, you could be a cartoon character yourself. You know, you could be who, you know, what your dream is, have the hustle, have all of that, but don't let it get to your head. It's not something that you have to, it's not a thing. It's who you are. And that's the difference between like our era and this era.
Yeah.
My man Harlan Ellis said, he said, when you're already somebody, you don't waste your time trying to be something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's-
So we already knew we were somebody, even just to us.
Right.
We were cartoon cats. You're going to see who we are.
Right.
We're not going to run out of steam. We love doing this.
Yeah.
But today, it's like you want to, everybody has to be a part of something
Right.
in order to become somebody. And that's the suckers route, man. It's, you know, I know people, he knows people who get paid to do what we do, you know, tons of money.
Absolutely.
But we're still better at it.
Right. Absolutely.
We're still better at it in our sleep because
Yeah.
we're the real thing.
Right.
You know, they learn what they learn from talking to people like us.
Yeah.
We learned what we learned
By doing
because
it.
we did it.
Yeah.
It's not because we spoke to anybody. So,
Yeah.
you know.
How'd you feel when you first started seeing like certain commercials, and you see or
What,
you
with
see-
hip hop?
Yeah, hip hop one.
That-
Just things that we used to do. And you be like, yo, you know,
Well,
and
the-
you be like,
the-
I could have did that way better than that though, boy. Yeah.
I think, well, seeing the first two hip hop commercials that really made me bug out would be Pillsbury Doughboy and the Flintstones.
Oh, okay.
When he came in rapping, I was like, yo. But actually going to a who was it? I think it was a Run DMC Beastie Boy concert at Madison Square Garden and seeing white girls WAP. I was like, hip hop is changing. We ain't going back.
Right.
So from there, I just kept doing the same stuff that I was doing anyhow. You know, I didn't want to change up.
Right.
I was like Luther Vandross. I was happy with my R&B crowd.
Right.
I didn't need to cross over. So I just continued to do what I was doing, even though I knew changes was going to happen. But
I think that's all three of us. It was like things have went and came, and I just certain fads I just couldn't follow.
Yeah.
And I just had to be me.
Yeah.
And even when it wasn't, when it wasn't still in to be that, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Then it came back. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I got 3. The My Adidas tour
Oh.
at Madison Square Garden. When they did My Adidas
And held up the
and
sneaker.
held up the whole stadium, held up their sneaker, that's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, when the Source magazine got the Source van, the first Source van.
With the
With the house-
speakers.
with the
Oh my
that
God.
you can hear like 20 blocks
20
away.
speakers,
Yeah.
20 speakers on this prototype van, and then on the front you had all the sponsors and Sprite.
Right.
Sprite was one of the sponsors. Sega.
Was Outsman driving that first one? Outsman?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Usman.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was the second one because that was the prototype. That was the first of its kind.
Okay.
Now everybody has a vehicle.
Right,
Football
vehicle, right,
teams
right,
have a vehicle.
right.
Yeah.
You know, athletes, that was one of a kind. And then the third is Ralph Lauren. All right,
Okay.
coming from Brooklyn, the whole polo movement, that's us. We put that on the map. 1988, we came together as a group, but we were boosting from 85. So when we went from Coca-Cola, United Benetton, we went from every flavor there is, but we settled on polo because it was the highest level, and all the marketing, it was never any black people. It had, as a matter of fact, he went off and had a whole different line that was cheaper than the purple and all of that, the high $80 joint, and we just kept boosting the $80 joint. But when you look at their ads now, it looks like a kid right out of Crown Heights in Brownsville,
Yeah.
exactly how we used to dress back in 88, 89, and that's on their website today, right now, and it looks like one of us. So after 25 years of putting them on the map, of boosting their, just being models, you know, for their clothing, never talking about us, you know, all of the write-ups all over the world, different chapters of it. Now their advertisement looks exactly like us, and they could never say it was us that influenced it because they would lose their mainstream people. We know. We know. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we made Timberland.
Oh, yeah.
We put that. We
Made a whole lot of
Sharp.
We made everything hot, man.
I mean,
we
the whole
make
thing
everything
is,
hot and look cool doing it.
And talking about Sprite, they did the KRS Sham Battle. Yeah, yeah.
But
that was
they're
in-
dope because they've always been down with hip hop. Sprite,
yeah.
Sprite has always been down, and that's a Coca-Cola company. I shout them out a lot, man. They always recognize, you know.
See, but they were able to do that smartly. They didn't necessarily put Coke down.
Right.
With-
Right. It's all that you deal with them. That's foul, man. But it's all right. The money's good.
That's true, though.
The money's
I'm
good.
still eating off of it, but
I mean, because they had commercial with Criss Cross and all those others in the early days with Sprite. So yeah,
Let me
they
tell you,
circled around.
It's nothing like commercial work. When you get that, even as a voiceover, it's great.
last question. I just want to ask.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask you to just wrap it up in another 2 minutes. Just 2
okay.
minutes. Now I'm not trying to rush y'all. Everything y'all just said, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not listening to this is history in the making. If anybody ever heard this in-depth conversation they had from comic books in relation to graffiti, in relation to how everything got started. But this is awesome. Give these gentlemen a round of applause, because this is history in the making. So I'm going to back up slowly so you can do your finishing, closing arguments.
So
Thank
let me ask you. We talked about where it came from. Where's it going? The combination hip hop, comics, movie. What do you see?
Oh Lord, that's a good question. Well, my honest answer is, I don't care where it's going. I care where I intend to take what I'm doing. And
I like that.
When I was doing the hip hop and comics in the source, I got absolutely no love, no props, nothing from Marvel. When I was doing it, they didn't reach out. People used to ask me, Marvel reach out? It was like crickets, nothing. And then 30-something years later, then they had the hip hop covers and that type of thing. So I got plans for next year with a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm just gonna create it, not looking to see what anybody else is doing. I'm just gonna keep doing me. So hopefully, with the changes that happen, other young black artists will be able to get into that mix. But I'm just gonna keep doing what I do.
Yeah, I say the same thing. You know, it's. I know that it's not my era anymore, so I'm not bitter about that. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
You know, Bonz Malone and his heyday and his experience was for the time that he was there. You know, I had to be who I was at that time, and I got to be who I am now for this time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not mad about, you know, the where I see myself about it. Like as far as relevance, is, you know, for us, like we've done so much already. I feel like, you know, we're a part of like the hip hop senate. You know what I mean? So it, you know, being relevant, I don't care about that. We're recognizable, man. Everywhere we go, it doesn't matter if it's relevant or not.
Absolutely.
Like, so you can't take away what we've already accomplished. You know, my focus is to help kids reach what they want to do, not talk their ear off about what we did, or that's not hip hop. The most important question you could ask a kid right now that comes from our culture is, what do you think hip hop should be? And that's where it is. That starts the conversation, and it doesn't alienate them right off the rip. Yeah. And that's why I'm in this library every day. We could talk about that on any given day. What do you think it should be? And then I'll help steer it for you, you know, so that you still feel that you figured it out, not me. Yeah. You know, or you ain't in our shadow or anything like that.
I just want to say one thing. He always say he in the library. I just want to say that's true, because I know when I was looking for a place to write, I found a little corner. He was on the other side. I was on every day.
Mount Vernon Library,
and he's still there.
Day,
I see him in the morning. You on your way there? I said, no, I'll be there later.
I've done documentaries in this. The original 50 Cent documentary was written in this building. I did Just for Kicks. My part of Just for Kicks, the sneaker documentary, was written in the Mount Vernon Library. I did at least 3 documentaries in this library, and they have almost everything I've ever done. Every movie I've been in, and every documentary I've been in, even the books that I've you know, did the opening for in this library. So I shout out Kathy. I shout out the director, the Mount
right
Vernon
behind you.
Library.
Yes.
She's right behind you.
Looking out for that.
Kathy
Mad
Webb.
love. Word up. Thank you.
Anything I didn't ask you all that y'all want everybody to know about you before I leave?
Not really. Just continue to support the young kids. Look out for them. Try and school them in the right direction. Too much madness going out in the streets. They just trying to live and survive. And just look for more great artwork from me.
Word to mother.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for all the people recording this, and hopefully we'll get a copy of it so we can see it.
Yes.
I want to thank you two brothers. It's always a pleasure just to be around y'all and to be on the stage and share stage with the two of y'all.
Yeah.
I've had much respect for y'all and have known y'all by reputation before I met y'all personally.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just want to
Respect
thank y'all
likewise.
for what you do.
Likewise.
Word up.
Word up.
And I gotta I wouldn't be me if I didn't plug myself.
Yeah,
so
no doubt. Shout out to
make sure
Black
y'all check out
Westchester, you
Black
know what I'm
Westchester
saying?
newspaper.
Word up.
You can always find it every month at the library. Check us out,
Absolutely.
blackwestchester.com, and our radio show, People Before Politics, every Sunday. And I even try to put as much hip hop into this every chance.
Yes.
We did the Hispanic Heritage Month. I got his
I
big
saw
pun
that.
picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to
Shout out,
still
man.
bring that in
Yeah.
as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank y'all.
Cool.
And I think that's up for us.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.
Ah, yeah. Give these gentlemen a round of applause. This is an era. It's all about what they just said. It's all about taking the kids to the next level. I applaud you, all three of you gentlemen. Once again, we are here at Mount Vernon. That's right. Mount Vernon is in the house, public library.